just because it's green doesn't mean you're growing.
Welcome to another episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast, where we explore the ins and outs of the seven figure journey. My name is David Gilliland. I'm one of your hosts, and we've got the privilege today of having Taylor Collums with us from Collums Construction. Uh, Welcome to the show, Taylor.
Thanks, David, for bringing me on today. I'm excited.
We're just delighted to have you here. And if I remember right, you guys are licensed in a couple of states down there in the South, right? Was it Tennessee? Was it in Mississippi or Missouri?
Tennessee and Mississippi, we
Tennessee.
hold general contractor's license for both.
Nice. Well, thank you for joining today. What's fun is always just hanging out with another entrepreneur that's out there building and growing. And I know for you, you're a husband-wife team, which is unique. Not everybody is. That you guys met, each of you bringing your own businesses in construction, and got to know each other, and then met and married, and decided let's make this one business. How's that going for you, Taylor?
So it's been a unique growth. Anybody who is married knows that there are disagreements and things to navigate. Running a business, if you ever had a business partner, it's the same thing, but you have to go home and sleep next to that person that night, which makes navigating it all the more difficult. We have learned to kind of fit into our roles, which has been really good. My wife comes from an insurance restoration background, so she worked in a different field of construction than I did. It was primarily around fires, storm damage, things along those lines in the commercial world. Whereas I worked as a commercial flooring contractor, so we did large flooring projects for hospitals, schools, and churches and things like that. So I pitched my business to her because she could employ me at the time. That's how we met. And then we just ended up around each other a lot, ended up dating, and got married. So a lot of fun.
Well, that was your best sales job ever, Taylor. Well done.
That's true. That's true.
Well, it's fantastic, and that's then you guys came together. Now, both of you just had this entrepreneurial bug already in you. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Uh, no. So if she were here, she would have laughed at that statement. She comes from a family of corporate.
Mm.
Her dad worked in the same job for 40 years, I believe, maybe longer than that. Worked with FedEx, large company here in Memphis, Tennessee. And so she is a very risk averse person. When I said that I was going to start a company, she tried to be encouraging, but I can tell you that the first couple months of me stepping out and starting my own thing, there was a very big rub between the two of us. So she has a little bit different way of looking at things than I do.
Well, it's great that you're working together on it now. The the journey is not an easy one, but it is really important that the people that are traveling with you, that are working alongside you, are aligned. That you actually care about some of the same things, have some core values, some similar hopes and dreams. And I bet that that's one of the refreshing helps. Even if risk averseness is different, you kind of need the yin and the yang to
You
run your
do.
business well.
Absolutely. She texts me all the time on hey, let's go and do this. She's the one that helped me really focus on what was making us money. So she is a pivotal piece of our company.
That's awesome. So let's dive in a little bit. You guys have grown. You passed that $1 million mark a little bit ago. You've almost tripled since then. What what insights do you have that you could share with the community? What's helped you to go from the one to three?
The biggest thing that we have learned, there's actually two very big things that we've learned. First is just because it's green doesn't mean you're growing, and I mean that to say there are plenty of people out there who need contractors, and not every job is a good fit. We got our start inside of home remodeling and renovations and handyman services. And we realized that that industry was not a great fit for how we run our business. A company that uses a different approach with it, where it has more in-house employees, is a much better fit for that type of industry. We are a better fit for commercial, and my wife helped us realize that we need to really pursue and dive into and focus on what we're good at and what makes us money. Um, I guess there's actually three things that we kind of determined. So the first was, go after the business that you want to be in, which we pursued the commercial construction. We made a big adjustment along that around 2022. We shifted to where our primary focus was commercial construction. The next
Can,
is, mhm,
can I dive into the point
yeah,
one first to
absolutely.
understand it?
Yeah,
Your wife's Deanna. How did she help you identify that? You had alluded that she helped you see some things. Can you walk through just briefly the process? Because we've all heard you got
yeah,
to focus in whatever. Like, yeah, but how did you decide, and what was the how'd you use data or whatever else to get to that point?
yeah. So she, at the time, she was working with a company called McCabe Construction here in Memphis, Tennessee. They do primarily residential insurance, and she was working in that service field for part of 2020, around when I started, and then she went to another company, a commercial insurance company, in 2021, and that's when we started to have the conversations about commercial, because the idea had always been that I get into commercial insurance. There was actually a point in time where uh, I kind of had a breakdown and came home, was pretty upset about a job that was going wrong, and sat down with Deanna and had a conversation about, hey, homeowners are a little unreasonable. They want us to work their hours, which, homeowners are home from 5 until, the next morning. I want to work during the day, 8 to 5. I'm trying to go home to see my family. I'm trying to do these types of things. Homeowners live inside of that construction space. I get to go home, which is something that was hard to remember because I get to leave that construction site and they walk into that construction site after a hard day at work. So there was some other issues that caused just a lot of tension between me and the people I was servicing. And so when me and Deanna sat down, we talked about how much I enjoyed being a commercial flooring estimator and project manager, and we talked through why. And so once we got to the end of that conversation, I realized that I'm just not cut out for residential. And it was a pretty simple fact of like, what do you like? And she just kind of brought it back to the basics of it and really processed through what that looks like. And I also had a project manager at the time who at work was doing the same thing. So Deanna was working at the time at a different company. So she was talking to me about this at home, and then my project manager at the office was asking kind of similar questions like, "Hey, what are you good at? Like, what do we want to be in 5 years?" And so I got it on both sides to finally bring that, steer the ship, right the ship, and really focus on going down the commercial route.
I love that. So I'm just going to pull a couple pieces out there, and maybe I toss one extra one in. But the couple pieces were, what are you good at doing? Let's identify your skills, where those are at, and what do you find joy in?
Right.
Because where you've got that joy, you've got endless energy to innovate, to try, to grow, to expand because you love it. While when you're beating your head against the wall and you just want to survive it. And I love how you said it. I think we've all been there. Like, yeah, I was kind of like having a breakdown on this because I was like, everything's falling apart, right? And it feels that way a lot of times as we grow. And you'll get that again. All it means you're going to find a new challenge that's going to do it to you again. You're going to have to do another learning. But those were some great insights. One other one I would tack on, which in your case was already covered, but does the market love you in that space too? So that can often show up by, do we have profitable jobs and they want to keep working with us?
Right.
That says the market loves it, right? If it's profitable, if I'm good at it, and if I love to do it, we found a happy place, right? Great. great piece. All right, you said it was one of three things. Tell me about two and three.
Yes. So number two, it kind of goes into what you just said, and seeing self value. Every person that competes over cost, it's just a chase to the bottom, is what we say. There's
Hmm.
always a guy that's cheaper than you. There's always someone that can run you all the way down to the bottom. I get plenty of customers that'll tell me, hey, this guy, Joe in a truck, said that he can do it for this. And we always have to bring it back to, hey, here's our value, here's our process. This is why we're worth what we're asking for. And so my second piece is never be the cheapest guy, always be the guy that brings value. So that's the big piece that I always give advice for growing a business, because if you're just the cheapest guy, you always want to keep your overhead low. You're not pouring into your employees. You're not you're not growing a sustainable model. My mentality was, if I ever broke my leg, does my business still operate the same way that it does? If I take a 2 week vacation and I come back, is it just fine? Or have I kind of put myself in a position that it's not? And so we learned that the guy in the truck is the guy that his business shuts down when he leaves. Whereas we are building a sustainable uh, thing to give the community with value.
Great. So focus on value, not price, as much as you can on there. And value really is an equation of whatever it is they most want divided by price. That kind of determines your value, right? Like that sense of value. It's like, well, that at this price was a value to me. But do they want you to be the fastest, the easiest to work with, right? The highest quality? What is it that your customer segment most cares about? Build your processes around that. I love it. Give me number three. Did you have a number three, or was it snuck in there?
I did have a number three. Number three is making sure that you pour back into your community and your employees. We really focus here on a work life balance, the biggest piece inside of construction. And if you ever met a contractor or a tradesman, blue collar guy, they are so proud of how hard they work and how long they work. I've got a family, I've got friends, I've got hobbies, I got all of the things that I need to pour back into me to fill my cup up so that I can give it back to the community. And we really focus on giving that back to our employees. We want to train them inside of the actual work environment so they're competent in what they do. And then we also want to focus on giving them the time away to recover. Plenty of people, I use sports analogies a lot. Plenty of people will talk about an athlete that is very repetitive in motion, typically one that gets injured. So we like to spread the diversity with our staff and with us, the owners as well. We want to focus on making sure that all of us can be in this industry for 40 years rather than getting burnt out in 10.
Cool. I love that. And I think these are the things that have helped you triple in size in a very short amount of time. So, and, uh, great nuggets. Thanks so much for sharing, Taylor. Now, at this stage, this is what it's like with business. As we grow, and we mentioned this earlier, if you succeed and you do a great job and you grow, you overcome a massive challenge. It's just to find a bigger challenge on the other side, right? You've grown. You now are worthy of the next level of challenge. So, what are you facing now, and how can we help you?
Oh, sorry, it kind of froze on me. Um, some of the big things that we are looking at now is in my most recent problem that we've run into is I took our company as far as I could. I'm relatively young, relatively inexperienced inside of having a company, uh, relatively inexperienced in having employees, those types of things, where somebody else could point me in the right direction. So the biggest thing that we have done this year is take a big intrinsic look at who we are and starting to figure out, what makes a strong brand. Not the marketing piece. We all understand, you can go pay a marketing firm, but what makes somebody buy in to your brand and bring that value? Do you have any insights on that?
Let's talk about when you say somebody. Do you mean a partner of another contractor that you're working with, or do you mean an employee team member buy into that brand, or do you mean future investors buying into the brand? So I understand the direction you
Yeah,
want to go right now.
absolutely. So the people that we would like to buy into our brand would be not an actual buy-in. So we are talking about our employees or staff, and
Okay,
then the customers that we're bringing in as well.
terrific. We can let's play that direction. And I
Yeah.
just wanted to know what you meant, so thank you. Um, this interest before I ask this, what are your goals? What are you trying to do in the next 3 to 5 years, so that I
We
know where this needs to build towards?
Yeah, we actually set some pretty audacious goals. Um, I've had people tell me in the past that you tend to overestimate what you can do in a year, but underestimate what you can do in five. So I came up with kind of a crazy goal for what we could do in 5 years. Our my goal right now, and what I'm trying to figure out how to get to, is we have a goal of doing 15 million in revenue in three different branches in three different cities. So we
So
would
that so that's 45 million, or is that 555 roughly? Just so I
that's 45 million.
great 45 million. All right, let's play with this.
Okay.
5 years out, we're at the end of 2029, and we're looking at it. We're like, we hit it. End of 2029, 45 million, three different locations, or three different geographies that we're really dominating. Terrific. So, uh, if you want people to buy into a brand, it's more than the revenue that the owner gets, or the profits the owner gets to take home. So it's about what is the impact that we're having. So we're gonna really pull back a little bit and go into a little bit of the psyche of people and what drives them, what they're most looking for, because brand is one way of saying, well, there's a lot of way people will talk about this, but one way of looking at brand is that you want people to identify with it as though they have taken the brand on. It's part of their identity now. So that's one way of looking at brand, right? We want raving fans who tribe around our brand, right? We're like, right? That's that kind. I see you nodding your head enough. You're like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, if that's where we're looking, because the other is just a brand um, is a promise made and a promise kept predictably, so people know what to expect. Okay,
Mhm.
so we're going to go around this raving fan style of brand. So now we really have to get in deep, because we're talking about identity. We're
Mhm.
talking about direction. We're talking about what they want to be a part of. Okay, what they want to join and say, this is my best self when I'm wearing this brand on my mind and heart. So here we go. People are looking for three things according to the research and according to what we have seen with hundreds of businesses that we've helped do this. Just hundreds upon hundreds of them. Um, they're looking for three things. One is a sense of meaning and purpose. Okay, so that's the first one. And that is not the 45 million, it's way above it.
Right.
Okay, so we have this meaning and purpose. The second thing is belonging. They want to
Mhm.
find a group of people with shared core values. Okay, that they make choices based upon these things, and it needs to be obvious and clear, right? And they all know, like, oh, here's what this is. And I'll give you an example. In a religious setting, major religions of the world all have a "why are we here" purpose, meaning,
Yeah.
and they have a tenet of beliefs, a commandment set, a how we see things, right? They
Right.
may have some practices and policies that
Mhm.
look different, whatever, this, and that, but they're all founded on some principles that they've really grasped and said, there's a lot of truths out there, but these six we all live internally, period. And if you don't, you're not in.
Right.
Okay. And that saying you're not in is actually very attractive. People want to belong too. Okay. So know that is. So think purpose, think core values, and then they need to have a sense of contribution, that they're making measurable progress towards this higher purpose that can almost never be attained, but the measurable progress can be.
Right.
Tie those together, and this measurable progress also isn't a revenue number. This measurable progress is um, something like X number of square feet of legacy built. Let's say your purpose was about like legacy building, like we build communities. Maybe it's community building. Like we build the communities. We build the spaces for communities to exist, and so then it's X number of square feet that we will build by the end of whatever. And so every single project is its gain, as you win it and then you fulfill it and build it, we get to put up there this many more square feet, right? We created this much community gathering. If that's what your team loves, we have to figure out the purpose. Then you can get this mission.
Yeah.
Okay. Then tied onto that, mission goals: 45 million across the 3 states, X number of profits to make sure we can keep pursuing that purpose, that we can care for our employees, that we can care for the investors, that we have a sustainable, great business. We're going to have solid metrics that tie directly to their jobs that they do every day. So everyone sees how they contribute. See, the sense of contribution starts to become more and more clear. But this first piece, there are few out there who really unlock it well. Most of them take a swipe at it and they'll bring in some expert or they'll read some book. But the issue is they don't understand what visionary leadership is really about. They don't understand the power of co-creating. That's a difference, because you, Taylor and Deanna, could sit in your home and think about something
Right.
and create what you like, and then come and tell everyone this lofty mission statement that you believe they should all love. That doesn't mean anything to them.
Right.
You and Deanna should have that conversation and get on the same page. But you should also bring others in and hear where theirs is and be open to influence, because there may be a higher level purpose that you're like, oh man, yeah, now your team members' fingerprints are all over the very core of your business and where it's headed. Now we're getting some buy in. And then what you do on the daily, because remember the lower definition: make a promise, keep a promise.
Yeah.
To establish the raving fan, that lower level better be done. So once we've co-created a promise, we have to keep it on the daily with the team. Is
Mhm.
that what they see your decisions based off of? Or is it because you had a bad pastrami on rice sandwich that no one in the South should ever eat? And and if that's the case, that's why you're treating them like a jerk today. You're doing so poor. No, you have to keep the promise. We serve this. This purpose is higher than me. These values dictate what we do, not my fancy today.
Right.
These are higher than my profits.
Right.
Now, if you don't make a profit, it's all going to pots. So you better make a profit. But I'll give up today's profits for the long term, keeping that brand, that promise high, right? Using your terms on that. I call that a vision, those 4 steps. And when done right and done well and lived true to, it is powerful.
It
Like,
is.
your employees have no more solid foundation than that. They're like, whoa, this is above Taylor and Deanna. It's above them. They serve it right alongside you. That's the kind of leader I want to be with,
Yeah.
right? That's the kind of belonging I want. And so I would suggest that for the first part of that branding. Let's
Okay.
get it deep. But then you have to build that into everything. It's got to be in your hiring. It's got to be in your onboarding. It's got to be in your processes for how you care for your customers.
Hmm.
It's got to be just everywhere. You know, you'll be going along like, whew, boy, we messed up on that job. Customers upset. Margins are tight on it. We don't have much wiggle room. And then you're like, yeah, but team, one of our core values is we do the right thing, right? And the definition in there, part of it was even if it costs us a lot of
Right.
time and a lot of money, we're going to do the right thing every time. So how should we approach this? What's the right thing? And you leave, Brian, like, we're seriously going to donate $50,000 of work to pull this off right for them. And the team says, yes, we are. And we're going to make this right. And because of that, we're going to go make money in other places over and over again. The team's going to be dedicated to remember. But it's those defining moments that establish the brand, not the practice of writing it out.
Right.
Okay. And then it's sharing those stories. Think about great cultures. How do they ingrain the stories? How do they ingrain the values and the purpose? It's stories, right? The time when, remember, da 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 da. That's who we are. That's who you are. And new employees will start being like, yeah, that's who we are. Like, you weren't even part of that, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You get it, right? We put ourselves in the shoes of the protagonist in a story,
Right.
facing the challenge and living true. That's what we do. So, those are some of the tips and tricks that we've seen. But would that work for your company? I mean, you're in construction, you're blue collar, white collar mixed. People don't always like each other. I mean, do you think that could pull off there for you?
I think that it could. I think that any involvement for um, employees is it's something that they're starving for now.
Yeah,
Anytime that you go and you have a conversation with people about an existing job, they're like, the money's great, but there's always that but, and typically it's centered around some sort of cultural failure of the company that they're working with. Um, they're not recognized, they're not appreciated in their positions, they're not, they
yeah,
don't feel like it's going anywhere. There's no growth, whatever it is. And yes, so building a brand and a value around those higher purposes, it always allows for there to be those things that they're wanting to do. Even if it means that I've got to step out of the way. Somebody could be much better at me than my job than what I do, and that's
yeah.
fine. I got to get the ego out of the way, type of deal. Especially when you're running a company. So yes, I 100% think that those would be great things to add to our company.
Taylor, I want to do one more nugget. Normally, we do the nuggets from you in the beginning, and in the end, I help. But I mean, you just dropped a bomb right on, which was this: the key had nothing to do with industry, and I agree with you. We've helped people across all sorts of industries. Like, I've seen it, right? I've watched so many cool entrepreneurs pull off everything. The key was me as the owner. Can I drop the ego
Yeah,
and allow others to really be engaged and actively learn with them and be open? That keeping the ego out of the way is the core to pull this off. Doesn't matter the industry. So, I mean, great final bit of wisdom from Taylor. Collins Construction, what a great place. How would people, if they wanted to work with you, because you're going to be doing work, this is the beginning. The 45 million is like, that's just my first step,
yeah.
right? We're going to go bigger. If they want to work with you, especially in a few of those regions you're already at, how would they contact you?
We have a couple different ways of contacting us. Typically, the easiest is to give us a phone call or shoot us an email. Our phone number is 901-249-4564. And my email is pretty simple. It's Taylor, that's at Collums, that's COLLUM as in Mary S dash construction. That's a hyphen, not a slash, .com. And just reach out to us, give us a headline of what you're needing done, and we'll help you out. That is my personal email, so please don't spam it. I'll have to get a new one. But you can email me there directly, and I'll help you get pointed in the direction you need.
Great. Thank you so much, Taylor. Uh, we appreciate what you shared. We appreciate what you're doing. And to gain growth like you want to have, you have to have loyal, dedicated team members who are willing to lay it all on the line and do fantastic work alongside. Otherwise, you'll experience the 10%, 15% kind of growth that the
Hmm.
typical company does. You don't get that kind of big growth without the team all in. So I love that you focus and you realize solving that issue, that's a $42 million issue from where you are
Yep.
today to where you're getting to. We've got to solve that. Then we can pull off the rest. Fantastic. Let's wrap up then. That concludes this episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. If you as a listener loved what you heard, please invite other seven figure business owners. Like, share, do what you need to on the social platforms, whatever. Tell your buddies. Uh, there is gold in learning from others who have been on the path or are on the path with us right now. Uh, keep growing, keep striving, keep learning. Until next time.